Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 9 Team Fortress 2 list, with once again the focus being on weapon loadouts rather than the weapons on their own. However, this time, instead of what is the most hated or what is the best combination of weapons, we are looking at one aspect and one aspect alone. Now, these weapon combos are not focused on being overpowered, or what weapons work off of each other the best. We are only looking at what loadouts will give you the highest damage output possible, regardless of how much skill they require and how hard their counters are. Let me say that again, for the comment section. This is not a list of what the most overpowered loadouts are. In fact, half of these loadouts are probably awful, but they have the highest damage output and potentially the most dangerous, so that's what we're taking a look at here. That being said, welcome to the top 9 most powerful weapon loadouts in Team Fortress 2. First, we look at the Scout, and this one receives a lot of hate. This is the Force of Nature, Criticola, and the Boston Basher. Sandman might be a better combo for this loadout in general, but the Boston Basher, if used correctly, has no downside. It does the same amount of damage as stock, it can crit, and it inflicts 6 seconds of bleed. Be careful though, because if you hit yourself, it's over. Best to time your hits, as the random crits can actually throw you off and kill someone before you were ready, which in turn makes you hit yourself with its high swing speed. This is a weapon that would actually benefit from random crits being removed or having a slower swing speed in general. However, there is no denying the amazing amount of damage this weapon can put out for just being a scout melee. We also have the Force of Nature and Criticola working for it, so you can mini-crit the Basher, or you can pair it with the Force of Nature and eradicate anyone who crosses your path at point blank. The Force of Nature and the Criticola is an amazingly powerful combo, and on the off chance they do survive, by the time they get their head straight from the mini-crit boosted knockback, you've already run up to them with the 25% movement speed the Criticola grants you, and are currently beating their head in with the mini-crit boosted bleed and the Boston Basher. If you let this Scout get close, he will chew you up and spit you out before you can even blink. You will take 10% more damage while using the Criticola, so the idea is to single out a target and kill him before he has the chance to take advantage of that small weakness. You're also marked for death for 2 seconds after using the Criticola, which is a downside to note, but is not that bad. You can also triple jump with either the Force of Nature, or if you are really desperate, you can triple jump with the Boston Basher. Just be sure you have enough health before you do that. In all, this Scout is dangerous and not to be underestimated. Moving on to number 2, we focus on the Soldier and his... It's the direct hit buff banner and equalizer. Aside from the melee, did you really expect anything else? It used to be that the Beggar's Bazooka was the big baddie, but ever since its nerfs, the thing doesn't quite have the kick it used to, and it's even more situational. What you can do in most situations though, assuming you can aim, is the direct hit. It may have a 70% smaller blast radius, but if you're landing most of your shots, that will not matter when it comes down to its 25% damage bonus and its 80% faster rocket speed. This thing is like a rocket launcher sniper rifle. It also has the ability to mini-crit airborne players if they were knocked into the air with an explosion by the direct hit or just blast jumping. That makes this weapon a very effective tool for taking out other soldiers or Demoman, or anyone you knock into the air yourself. With its extra damage, it becomes easier to fill the buff banner, which will grant you and your team mini-crits for a full 10 seconds, regardless if they are airborne or not. And lastly, as the direct hit can be unreliable in close combat, we have the equalizer. The more hurt you are, the more damage it puts out. Capable of putting out anywhere from 33 to 113 damage per swing. This weapon can also be mini-crit boosted with the buff banner to more than negate its downside. Medic will not be able to heal you as much, but if you're swinging away a weapon that rewards you for being hurt, healing is not what you had in mind anyway. This deadly combo of weapons can be tricky to pull off, but absolutely devastating when it all comes together. At number 3, we look at the Pyro. Now, when powerful Pyro weapons come to mind, I normally think the Phlogistinator. However, that weapon is situational and does not pair well with some other Pyro weapons. Nothing against it, that is my favorite weapon for stopping a strong push by the enemy team. However, I do recall a weapon that is similar to the Phlog's crit output, but with some finagling you can get it to crit whenever you want, and that is the Backburner. No oomph meter on this one, the Backburner will grant you full crits while attacking enemies from behind, often killing them or critically injuring them if you catch them off guard. You're essentially a Pyro spy. A Spyro, if you will. However, the Backburner's crit radius is only 90 degrees, while the knife's backstab radius is 180 degrees. Keep that in mind while you're attacking from behind. Also, unlike the Flog, be it very costly, you can actually air blast with the backburner. Costing 50 metal, you can get out 3 or 4 before you run out of metal, but in a battle with ammo boxes lying about, it's not nearly as bad as it looks on paper. Combine this with the flare gun, a weapon that will crit burning targets if you cannot reach their backs with the backburner, and the back scratcher, which has a 25% damage bonus. Helpful when the enemy has the ability to resist afterburn or can extinguish it altogether, also granting a passive 50% extra healing from health kits. This loadout is all about being a lone powerhouse with crits and extra damage. You will not receive as much healing from dispensers and medics, but you can help medics build their uber charge faster because of this. This loadout will not only win many 1v1 pyro fights unless they have reserve shooter and know how to air blast, but you will make quick work of a heavy and medic combo caught off guard. An amazing asset on defense and offense, this pyro loadout, despite its downside, is nothing to mess around with. It effectively makes Pyro as terrifying as he was portrayed in the Meet the Pyro video. Mostly. With number 4, we have the Demoman, and our first weapon in this loadout is the loose cannon. While initially hard to use, once you get into the rhythm and timing of this weapon, it can be devastating. With its double donk ability, you are able to deal over 140 damage with one bomb, and a 20% faster projectile speed will help you hit those shots. For those of you who do not know what a double donk is, it is when you time your shot so that the bomb explodes on the target right after you hit them with the cannonball. Basically, you're hitting them twice in one shot. The knockback is good for keeping enemies away from you while dealing massive damage from afar. You can also hold your shot so the double donk will happen much sooner after leaving the barrel. With the insane knockback and massive damage output this thing can put out, this weapon is favored by many with the potential to be game-changing. The second weapon everyone's favorite Black Scottish Cyclops will be wielding for this loadout is the criminally underrated Scottish Resistance. While almost always a defensive weapon, there is no denying its power. With the highest burst damage output in the entire game, it is an incredible asset for defending a single point like intel or payload. However, it has a much more amazing use. You can choose which bombs to detonate just by looking at them, and with you able to lay 14 sticky bombs at once, you can lay 4 sticky traps with 3 bombs each, which is enough to kill most classes if you detonate with proper timing, and still have 2 left over for a weaker trap or for increasing the power of the traps that you expect to get more traffic. These bombs do take a 0.8 second longer arm time before they can explode. However, this weapon provides more secondary ammo, a faster firing speed, and the ability to destroy enemy sticky bombs. While mainly limited to defense, it does have its moments in offense, dealing with enemy traps or taking out sentry nests. You never want to underestimate this underused weapon, or it may be the last mistake you make with your current life. Lastly, while better suited for Demo Night, the Scotsman's Skullcutter is still a great fallback weapon if a push was strong enough to get past the knockback and the sticky traps you were dealing out. With a 37% longer melee range and 20% extra damage, this weapon is a good fallback for a non-Demo Night. While as a slower switch, the damage bonus quickly makes up for that, and it's nowhere near as bad as some other weapons. Its downside of a 15% slower movement speed is only active while holding the weapon. If they are brave enough or stupid enough to press on as you retreat, you can easily turn the tide of the chase and start dealing massive damage once again, even while your primary and secondary are depleted of ammo or need reloading. So don't screw with Demoman, he's gonna get you. Number 5, we focus on the heavy weapons guy. And here we have a loadout that is actually being used as Valve intended. Kind of. The Hibernating Bear. This is one we have not seen in a long time, but after the stat changes to this loadout's weapons, I see it popping up more and more here and there. For those of you who do not know, this loadout consists of the Brass Beast, the Buffalo Steak Sandwich, and the Warrior Spirit. Now the Brass Beast has a painful 50% slower spin up and 60% slower move speed while spun up, so why is it on the list? Simple. Highest damage output in the game. Period. Exclamation point. While another situational weapon like the Scottish Resistance, when the Brass Beast has its moments, people fear this weapon. I know I do. That's why I use it. Why Brass Beast, sir? Because I'm afraid of it. The Brass Beast is capable of 432 damage per second, or 1,280 damage per second while crit boosted. If you're able to get the drop on enemies, lead a defensive push with a team, or sit in front or the top of a payload, consistently firing its extra damage really shows. Just watch out for snipers. Next is the Buffalo Steak Sandwich and the Warrior's Spirit. Together these weapons are the epitome of high risk, high reward. Extreme risk, extreme reward is more of the appropriate term. After eating the buffalo sandwich while holding these gloves, your stats will be as follows. 55% damage vulnerability, oh my god. 35% faster movement speed, mini crits, and restricted to melee for 15 seconds. 30% damage bonus, and 50 HP on kill. The only effective way to use these weapons together is to go on an absolute rampage, killing everything in your path faster than they can kill you, only ever stopping if you run out of crits or need to retreat. An amazingly dangerous combo to pull off, but if and when you do, bodies will hit the floor. Number 6 is the Hardworking Engineer Man. Engineer is one of those difficult classes to fit into the most powerful loadout category, as he has very unique weapons designed for different playstyles rather than something that is just more powerful with a penalty. However, there are a few weapons that have the potential to do more damage together than stock or any other loadouts. First, we need to focus on his sentry. Now, even if you're going around constantly hitting people with the gunslinger and getting those third punch crits, the mini sentry, while a great tactical weapon, cannot even compare to the power of a level 3 sentry. Think Brass Beast versus Tomislav, but for engineer. We're not going with mobility and advantages in most situations, but sheer power. So great, we eliminated one of his 5 different melees. Wait, there are really only 5, not counting reskins of stock? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, only 5! Jeez, Valve, where is the next NG update? Give the Texans some love, god dang it! Anyway, out of the 4 we have, I still can't believe that, there is only one that, not counting random crits, improves upon the damage of stock, and that is the one, and only, Northern Inhospitality. Now, the Hospitality may have a 20% fire vulnerability, which is not a great deal to an engineer building sentriness, and sacrificing random crits for 5 seconds of spy tracking and life-draining bleed damage, hitting a total of 9 times for 4 damage a hit, so math. 36 extra bleed damage for 1 hit, with no downside to the damage whatsoever aside from random crits. Damage-wise, it is a straight upgrade to stock. And of course also a spy's worst nightmare. So that is a big plus in current Team Fortress 2. Now, as we are focused on a level 3 sentry and its amazing damage per second, let's further that damage per second, shall we, with the Wrangler. The Wrangler blocks 66% of incoming damage, allowing you to take manual control of your sentry, and you can rocket jump with your sentry using this. That is all nice, but what we are focusing on is the fact that the Wrangler will double the fire rate of your sentry's guns. That's a lot of extra damage right there. It also allows you to pick your targets and focus on all that damage on one target on a time. Keeping up with the idea of boosting a sentry's destructive power, if someone is hiding behind a corner chipping away at your sentry, you are better off leaving the sentry to auto-aim, as the assisted aim of the Wrangler can actually screw you over in this situation. So what do? You grab your futuristic, metal-eating but meta-regurgitating 10% extra damage against people being targeted, not necessarily fired upon, targeted by your sentry, never reloading, always firing, send them a condolence letter to their kangaroo wife, the one and only in Soviet Russia pump shotgun pumps you, Widowmaker. This beast of a shotgun. Actually, I just described everything it does in the introduction of this weapon. So, Number 7. Dr. Medic. Medic is another one of those hard-to-fit classes on this list, focused more on healing than damage. So we not only need to look at the highest DPS, but also which is the most destructive. For Medic's primary, I consider the Crusader's crossbow, however 75% damage at best from long range, and only being able to fire off one shot before reloading? Nah. We are not about viability with this list, just power. So in terms of damage per second, either stock or Blood Soldier. At least until Valve nerfs the Blood Soldier. Both being able to deal 100 damage per second and reloading after getting 40 syringes out rather than one bolt. I want to stick with the Blood Soldier being a direct upgrade for battle medics, however if Valve nerfs it in the near future, just go with the stock on this list. Moving on to his it's Kritzkrieg. Easy to see that one coming. What better for increasing damage per second than a guaranteed crit weapon? Seriously. It is also the second fastest charging medigun in the game, so many Ubers to be had. Moving on. Now, melee was tricky, and I mean really tricky. Go on the wiki and have a look at all of Medic's melees. All of them punish your potential DPS with either less damage or slower swing speed. So naturally, it is stock, right? Right?
No. There is another.
Yes, there is one melee that has a tiny downside that does not affect the DPS in the slightest and benefits the aforementioned Kritzkrieg. Yes, I am referring to the universally despised, the ever-hated, the never going to get estranged because it looks too much like a Bioshock weapon, or so I am told, the Vitasaw. Here's a depiction of my comment section. Now hold on a second, hear me out. Yes, the Vitasaw is a very hated weapon, being called overpowered in competitive and garbage in pubs. This weapon just cannot seem to get a break, and there is no strange, so it's not even fun to ironically have, like, hey guys, look at me, I got 562 kills on my strange short shot before it was buffed. Yeah, good times. Anyway, hated as the Vitasaw is, you cannot deny that it does have the same DPS and does benefit the Kritzkrieg. Ace, you fool! It takes away 10 health and makes you die more, therefore, it does not have the same DPS because you die sooner. Valid point. In fact, a lot of weapons on this list fit that bill. But we are not looking at survivability here, just potential power and devastation. Even so, very few weapons will make a notable difference with 10 health missing, and if they do, the chances are you are about to die anyway. It is just if you die with this, you have a nice little uber boost at a spawn, and with the Kritzkrieg's faster uber charge rate, it especially helps with a quick recovery for more mayhem. Call it garbage and hate it all you will, but it does add something that the Bonesaw cannot, and with a minuscule downside. Maybe it's not so bad after all. No, it's still bad, but I have a bit more respect for it after testing the items and stats for this list. Number 8. Oh yes, everyone's favorite one-eyed, bomb-loving, cactus-eating, pot-bellied, punk-bloody, fat, jiggly, whopping, big, backstabbing, lob-armed, creepy, spastic, little bloody, blind-eyed, precious little twitchy, pickle-headed, rocket-hopping, plod, potato-hopping, phony, two-faced, filthy, mutant, Australian Call of Duty kid grown into a man with a bladder infection from consisting of a dying of nothing but Doritos and Mountain Dew bastard, the Snip Snop. Now for the sniper's more powerful weapon, the Machina should be an easy choice for this. However, let's look at this objectively, okay? As if wearing sunglasses at night, like the cool edgy dude you are, does not hinder your aim enough, you also have to fully charge a shot before you even get the damage bonus. And while a penetration shot is incredible and not to be underestimated, it does not happen that often and you need to fully charge the shot to do so, which is a vulnerable time you could be spending hunting someone who looked at your kangaroo wife funny. Man, that's 2 kangaroo wife jokes in one video. So where are we going here? Damage per second. So what are we looking for here? DPS. So what, a faster charge? Like the Sydney Sleeper? Oh! Or the Bizarre Bargain with full heads. Well, who says it has to be a gun? Enter the Huntsman, or Fortified Compound, but God help me, I never see those in games anymore. A lot of people hate the Huntsman, but is it really fast enough to be put over the potential of a quick-scoping sniper rifle? No! This is where your other weapons come in. This loadout was my second contender for my other list, but I think honestly it fits this one better. Which if you've not seen my other list on the most hated loadouts, you totally should after this. Links will be at the end of the video or in the description or somewhere. Now, a commonly suggested weapon combo for my last list was Girardi and Bushwhacker. Yeah, that is a good one, but I'll do you one better. Something that also benefits the Huntsman. What's better than Girardi? Girardi that shoots people. Wait, what? But it's not the Sydney Sleeper, you already said the Huntsman. The Cleaner's Carbine! Yes, this is by no means a good and powerful weapon, and this combo was better before this weapon's buff, but is still effective. Once you build up your Crikey meter, you are rewarded with 8 seconds of mini crits to anyone you hit, rather than Girardi for only the ones you cover. This means it can also be used with other more fast-acting, higher damage, long-distance weapons, i.e. your Huntsman. Mini crit boosted for 8 seconds. Already a great combo, as the few that survive your huntsman shots will be quickly dispatched with the additional shots from the carbine. It then rewards you with mini crits for the huntsman. The weapons work well off each other. Speaking of which, the bushwhacker! Turning mini crits into full crits, the bushwhacker can be fully crit boosted against all targets for 8 seconds. So, if someone is getting a little too close for comfort, just whip this out and they will die faster than Fred's YouTube channel after the Nickelodeon movies.
Hey, it's Fred!
I'm so sorry for bringing back those unpleasant memories. Overall, all 3 of these weapons work together to be the biggest dingus, output the most damage possible for our favorite cake-hole carbon Australian. Moving on to the final class, and by far the hardest set of weapons to come up with for this list.
I claim this point for France!
Spy's knives are already a one-hit kill, so we cannot go by what deals the most damage. Rather, let's take a look at what knife will get you the most kills and the most effective way to do chain stabs. The Big Earner grants you amazing speed, however it will be hard to miss a spy that fast going around cutting people up, so your chain stabs, while effective, will be short-lived. Though, we need something that can potentially keep the stabs going indefinitely. This is where the Your Eternal Reward comes in. Instantly disguising as the person you just stabbed with no kill icon or backstab noise and no corpse left behind, this weapon is absolutely deadly in the right hands. Nearly impossible to detect a spy with this knife, it is the perfect candidate for getting as many backstabs as possible. Now, what if you are discovered and need to make a quick escape? You sacrifice your disguise kit and not disguise freely, requiring some serious regrouping and get out of jail free cards. This is where the Dead Ringer comes in. The Dead Ringer reduces initial damage by 75% and further damage by 65 to 20% after 3 seconds. It has a 3-second speed bonus when it is triggered and 3 seconds of being able to bump into people without your cloak giving you away. Just a bit overpowered, just a bit, honestly, but this will definitely ensure your quick escape. Lastly, we look at the revolver, because there's almost no point to even mention sappers, as that is really dependent on playstyle, but just for the heck of it, we'll go with stock, because the red tape recorder literally does no damage to buildings whatsoever. And since Spy needs more sappers, if they add a new one in the future that does more damage to buildings, just insert that one on this list. That'd be cool. I see the Shredder. Shredder's a cool one. Now, as for the revolver, in the last video we mentioned the Enforcer, but that's really only good for a cheap shot before you trigger the Dead Ringer and run away again. It also requires you to sacrifice your disguise, which you never want to do with the Your Eternal Reward unless you have no choice and need something a bit more reliable. This is where the Diamondback comes in. Arguably, you can use the Ambassador with similar results, however, with the idea of getting massive chain stabs and sapping buildings, you will be rewarded with many stored guaranteed crits on the Diamondback that do not require headshots or a cooldown. If you're a decent spy, you can get a consistent 120 damage per shot with no damage fall off. That's honestly a bit insane. There is no denying that the Diamondback has the potential for the highest damage per second of all of Spy's revolvers in the game. Working well as a fallback if the Dead Ringer fails you, or just eradicating faraway enemies if they see you stab someone, or if they find you undisguised, the Diamondback is a truly amazing weapon. That pretty much completes this list. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what you thought of this list of mine. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more top 9 lists like this, and if so, what subjects should I cover. Also be sure to check out my other videos on this channel, it would really help me out, and as always, all of you have a great day.
Aye!